You will each be tied in a prescribed fashion and cast into the moat. Should you then sink, we will know that your confessions are false. If, on the other hand, you are seen to swim or float, then your confessions of witchcraft are proven beyond a doubt in the sight of God, and you will be withdrawn from the water and hanged by the neck until you are dead.
Hey, look! One of them's gone already.
They swim. The mark of Satan is upon them.
Give us a hand here, come on!
They must hang. She was innocent.
God forgive you, Matthew Hopkins.
Jailer, take them to the tree.
Run like the hill, run like the wind, for there is a devil abroad this land. He is the Hopkins man. If you are young, or if you are old, it matters not, for Hopkins loves his gold. Who can save you, for the law is on his side? Who is stronger, who can turn the bloody tide? Be a woman, or be a man, it matters not, for your death is in his plan. Who can save you, for the law is on his side? Who is stronger, who can turn the bloody tide? What is this power that can stop this bout of hate? Who'll take this monster and speed into his fate? It takes a different evil to crush an evil man. It takes all the powers of darkness that a woman
Thomas Dunn is perpetuating false claims and lies about a custody case that was turned into a media circus when claims of satanic rituals, cannibalism, drinking blood, and human sacrifice was introduced by the mother of 2 children, both of whom were coached by her and her abusive boyfriend, Abraham Christie. This custody hearing and fact-finding was carefully and thoroughly investigated by a judge in England, and an official judgment was passed. I have linked to the final judgment below. Despite the 16 witnesses interviewed, the medical reports, and the children's own testimony all pointing to the fact that this was a poorly executed hoax, Thomas Dunn has decided to parade this hoax as a means to further his own selfish ends. By marketing t-shirts, banners, coffee mugs, bookmarkers, a website, and his own YouTube channel Through the Black to not only profit from this travesty, but he also is widely spreading dangerous and harmful lies that directly impact the father and the 2 children in question. I had the opportunity to talk with Mr. Dunn about this case, and I was appalled to find out that he literally knows absolutely nothing about the details of this case.
I don't know how many people she interviewed. I think that's a good argument, and I can't explain why they did that. I don't know. I can't explain that. My feeling, and I'm speculating here, I don't want to sound so conspiratorial, but I mean, that's the way that I lean, right? Everybody was in on it. And
a licensed counselor?
No, I'm not a licensed counselor. Okay. I mean, and again, I'm not familiar with every single detail of what every person's, I could have did my homework a little bit better and gave you a little bit more of a show, maybe.
He is perpetuating this all based on his belief that the children, P and Q, in question, who later recanted their testimonies, were lying. I am retracting their names as because they are minors and they deserve their privacy. I will be referring back to this interview to prove that he is not only lying about this, but he has absolutely no regard for the children and their father who are innocent.
Hey everybody, it's Monday night. You know what that means? It is time for Disputed Lands on Now You See TV. I got to tell you, I'm really pumped up about this show tonight.
Yeah, we can tell you are just so enthusiastic.
Most of you guys already know, watched the show for a while. Thomas Dunn, or is it Dune? Thomas Dune and Jared Cressman. Jared is late. He had a time mix-up. I don't even know if he's home yet or not.
That Jared, working full-time and rushing home, fighting traffic to get onto this show and help Thomas Dune make a few more bucks off his crappy movie. How selfish of him. First
of all, you guys know, Now You See TV and Through the Black are brothers. We're in this fight. You guys are specialized. We tend to go all over the place. We're all over the board. You guys are very specialized in your ministry.
Ministry? You mean the YouTube channel that Tommy Dunn films from his basement? That's not ministry. That's a hobby. Who are they ministering to? The people who follow their channel? Ministers minister to the people. Dunn makes up lies and makes false claims. He spreads lies and bears false witness, violating one of his God's commandments, thou shalt not bear false witness.
Particularly when it comes to one topic, and that is ritual abuse, or also known as satanic ritual abuse.
You mean Christian ritual abuse? More Christians have committed abuse to children than Satanists. This term needs to go away. It was not endorsed by the FBI in the 90s, and it still clouds the issue. From Kenneth Lanning's 1992 FBI report, what makes a crime satanic, occult, or ritualistic? Some would answer that it is the offender's spiritual beliefs or membership in a cult or church. If that is the criterion, why not label the crimes committed by Protestants, Catholics, and Jews in the same way? Are the atrocities of Jim Jones in Guyana Christian crimes? Some would answer that it is the presence of certain symbols in the possession or home of the perpetrator. What does it mean then to find a crucifix, a Bible, or rosary in the possession or home of a bank robber, embezzler, child molester, or murderer? If different criminals possess the same symbols, are they necessarily part of one big conspiracy?
Why is it, or how is it, that the forces, the spiritual forces behind that have been able to remain so undefined or nebulous or not real?
Wow, what insight. I wouldn't have believed it. He just admitted that satanic ritual abuse is not real. That is correct. It is not real. That's why it is so undefined and nebulous, because it is not real. Child abuse can be committed by anyone of any religious background. As for satanic cults or generational Satanists committing horrible crimes, there has never been any proof or evidence to support the accusation of a satanic cult running around killing people, abusing children, drinking blood, or eating human flesh. These are all scare tactics to frighten the gullible.
And when you go back and you read the writings of, you know, people in the 1600s and 1700s and even 1800s, they seem to have a very acute awareness of spiritual warfare.
No, they didn't. They may have had a name for the concept of evil spirits and demons interfering with mortal men, but the term spiritual warfare wasn't popularized until 1903 with the publication of War on the Saints by Jesse Penn Lewis.
No, well, that brings up the point. The thing that came to my mind is our lackadaisical. It seems like as a body of believers, it's been our lackadaisical approach, or not recognizing.
Stay on topic. Stay on the topic.
But it seems like, you know, the
crap. I think we lost him.
That it should have, and I mean, I guess there could be lots of reasons for that.
Sure, lots of reasons. Yes. What is your point? Come on, you can do it.
Needed to recognize that there are men and women who are orchestrating events.
I believe in you, Chad. You can do it. You can make a cohesive thought. I know you can.
I don't know. One of those things that just hit me really hard. There are men and women in power who make decisions.
Well, he took a long time to get there, but he arrived nonetheless. Yes, they are called presidents, prime ministers, politicians, leaders, kings, etc. These are the few we charge with making big decisions.
You know, not large bodies of necessarily people, but individuals who, what do you want to call them, cabal, or a deep state or anything like that.
Okay, this moving the goalposts has got to stop. When you talk about these supposed Satanists, you'll refer to them as generational Satanists with deep ties to law enforcement, military, government, and in the case of the UK, Kafka's schools and even churches. When challenged, I ask why no one ever reports these generational Satanists to their local police or FBI. Tom Dunn, David Carrico, and others claim that these generational Satanists are protected by some cabal. That's why they never get arrested. Yet when I claim there has never been any court case of any actual satanic cult, they immediately refer to cases that have been tried in a court of law, namely when psychopaths murder someone in the name of Satan. So, which is it? Are Satanists immune to prosecution, and that's why there is no evidence? Or is every single psychopath and troubled teenager who wears an upside-down pentagram part of a larger organized satanic cult? You can't play both sides of this argument. Are they immune to prosecution, or are they not?
I mean, am I on any target anywhere in that?
I think so.
I agreed with the satanic cults are not real statement. As for the rest of it, Chad, I'm going to be honest with you. You lost me there. I had no idea where you were going with that long tirade.
Film that we made, I have a clip in the film of the actor Christopher Lee talking about the type of Satanism that we expose.
Not surprising, an actor who is being interviewed for his role in his then upcoming movie, The Satanic Rites of Dracula, talked about satanic cults. We're dealing with the facts here, not baseless allegations, hearsay, and rumor. Christopher Lee may believe what he was saying, or he was drumming up interest in spooky things. My money is on the latter.
The generational Satanism. And he's talking about it very just kind of nonchalant, just like, yeah, this is real.
Not real.
This is, and he probably, he's probably being interviewed because he played the devil in a movie or a vampire in a movie or something like that. But it's old black and white footage. It's in the film.
Yes, he was promoting his movie. That was not real. Thanks, Chad.
I know that in the 70s, there was a guy that came out, and no matter what you think of him, the John Todd.
John Todd was exposed as a fraud. Several Christian organizations and publications investigated Todd's claims and published articles disputing them. These included Cornerstone magazine, the Christian Research Institute, Christianity Today magazine, and the book The Todd Phenomenon by Darrell E. Hicks.
Did a tour somehow, and he's got all these recordings on the internet of warning people about generational Satanism.
Not real. I think people don't want to know. I think the reaction, and I'm just basing this off my own experience. I think the reaction is it's too dark. It's something they would just rather let somebody else deal with.
Like law enforcement? Oh, wait. Generational Satanists are immune to prosecution. Well, unless they are rebellious teenagers or a psychopath. Then they are convicted and placed on display as proof of the allegations of a satanic cult by Larry, Curly, and Moe here.
Because they got enough on their plate. I mean, they've got too much to do than to be actively researching and seeking this out.
You are absolutely right, Chad Schaefer. If anyone feels they have a legitimate lead of any criminal activity, it should be reported to the police immediately. They don't have to do anything except be a good Christian citizen. It is our moral, civil responsibility to report any serious and credible accusations. If you don't, you are aiding and abetting that criminal.
I saw an interesting book the other day that talks about that. I haven't read it.
Jared, you say how great a book is in one sentence, and then in the next you say, I haven't read it yet. That is priceless. How do you know it's an interesting book if you haven't read it?
What we're talking about, and you know what? I have this book right here. Let me read this real quick.
Oh, good. It's book time. Just because someone writes a book doesn't mean that the book they wrote is well-researched or even accurate.
This is a ritual abuse, a therapist's handbook. So I'm going to read real quick, and I read out of this often. What am I referring to when I use the term satanic ritual abuse?
Not real.
I'm not talking about teenagers who join a form of satanic cults. I'm talking about groups of families that have performed satanic rituals and ceremonies on a regular basis for many generations.
Dee Brown wrote that book, and it is horrible. She is not a licensed therapist, and neither are you, and she offers no evidence, no peer-reviewed study, or any data to support her claims.
They go to church. They are sitting right next to you. They're in your neighborhood. They're at the supermarket.
They could be anybody, anywhere, at any time. Don't trust anyone for any reason. Be highly suspicious of random strangers and treat them with disdain. Yeah, that's really healthy.
Who are we talking about? We just talking about they as another.
The practitioners of Luciferianism, or not necessarily Satanism, but Luciferianism, those who are practitioners, in what ways or how are these guys crafting, able to keep themselves hidden, other than the leave it to beaver polish that a lot of them really have, just as Tom was saying?
That's because generational Satanists are fictitious. So that is why they can be anything and do anything, because they are boogeyman. They are made up. They are not real.
But in what manner are they crafty in their ways? How are they doing this? How are they practicing the religion? Are they like the Satanists that go off into the woods and do this? Are they doing this in buildings? I mean, how is this worship being done? How are they practiced?
Why don't you ask a real Satanist? If you are curious, read the Church of Satan's Frequently Asked Questions page on their website. What you are talking about is fictitious and not real. I'm skipping around a bit, but they go on to talk about these t-shirts that are being sold that are based off Norman Rockwell paintings with a satanic twist. They're really creative and quite funny. I'll link to the website below.
It's almost like a comedic line of clothing, satire, like 80s advertisements. Somebody told me one time what it was based on, old art of some sort. I don't remember what the line was based on, but they've got about 20 different shirts now. Let's sacrifice Toby, and there's a little girl with a knife over Toby on the floor. They're dressed in 80s clothes. It's like fun and games at a sleepover. Let's all summon demons together. It's like people that have seen these shirts know what I'm talking about. It doesn't make sense unless you see these shirts, but they're done in a comedic fashion. It's satire.
I mean, obviously we know all witchcraft is dark, okay?
No, it's not. What freaks you out is the fact that anyone would practice any religion besides your own.
It comes to a level of unbelief, because you would have to understand, if you truly believed in the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit and the war and the battle that we are in, and that these entities are real, not real. They understood that. They wouldn't take these kind of things that are supposed to be done in a satirical manner. They wouldn't let them stand as something to joke about.
Yes, they would, because it is not real. It's all made up to spread fear and lies. It's not based on fact. It is all fiction. That is why it is so damn funny.
And there's a spiritual force behind them that's moving this, that moves in people to do these kind of things. It's the same thing. We mentioned the Baphomet thing, and you talked about the plain sight. They're tired of hiding. They've always been that way. They've always put their symbols and their things in the public's view to be mocked by most and known about by select few. The Baphomet, with the hand up and the hand down, that's exactly what it represents, is the light bringer, the adversary, able to reveal and open the eyes of those he chooses and blind and close the eyes of those who doesn't want to receive the knowledge, the vulgar.
That's not what the Baphomet statue represents at all. I have done several videos on this image. I'll leave links below if you would like to learn more, but Satanists are not tired of hiding. They are out and known. You have to keep recreating a boogeyman to spread fear. You are the one who constantly builds a no true Satanist fallacy in a straw man so you can make bullshit claims and make false accusations that some secret cult is committing crimes of murder.
When we're talking about satanic ritual abuse,
not real.
I'm not going to explain what satanic panic is in detail, but it's a propaganda term that the media came out with years ago to try and discredit anybody that had a testimony about satanic ritual abuse.
Not real.
And they would say, satanic panic, it's not real. It's not real.
Not real.
Your churches and your daycares are safe. This is not going on. Kids are making this up and blah, blah, blah. But, meanwhile, kids that don't know each other around the world are giving the exact same testimony, with no ability to network, no ability to communicate to each other. They're saying, hey, we saw guys in robes, we saw babies killed, we made us drink blood. All of this crazy stuff, okay?
Just because people have heard these stories and passed them along does not mean they're true. I know what aliens, Bigfoot, and the Loch Ness Monster looks like. Everyone does. It does not mean that little gray aliens have visited us or that Bigfoot or the Loch Ness Monster are real. Just because Ella Draper and her abusive boyfriend knew stories about satanic ritual abuse does not mean that devil-worshipping cults are running around murdering people, drinking their blood, abusing children, committing cannibalism, or grinding their meat up into hamburgers to be served at McDonald's. All of these allegations were coached by Ella and her abusive boyfriend that later P and Q recanted.
So, fast forward to many years later. Let's just, I've been learning about this stuff for over 10 years. I've been praying, I've been in the trenches, I've been meeting people, but something happened a few years ago that was probably the biggest break that we've had in over 20 years in satanic ritual abuse.
Not real.
So we've been yelling about this behind the scenes. I have personally for like 10 years, okay? And Russ Dizdar has been for a lot longer than that. So a case broke about 3 years ago where some video was leaked in the UK of these children who gave these testimonies, and they gave very believable, credible testimonies over and over and over again. They gave them to their parents, they gave them to detectives, and they just over and over again, they gave the same testimonies. They were interviewed by professional interviewers, and the guy tried to trip them up, and they had an answer for everything. Well, what happened was they tried to discredit the mom and say the mom made them or trained them to give these testimonies, okay? And this is what's been going on for the last 3 years, is the mother had to seek shelter because she was threatened with arrest.
Threatened with arrest? Yeah, she fled the country and is not cooperating with authorities. Any sane mother would have stayed with their children, especially when such outrageous claims are involved.
And the kids got pretty much kidnapped by the UK CPS.
The children were taken into Kafka's during the investigation and later turned over to their father after he was cleared of all allegations. Kafka stands for Children and Family Court Advisory and Support Service. Kafka's represents children in family court cases in England.
But these testimonies are out there, and they've gone viral. And I have been digging into this case deeper than just kind of your average testimony that you see on YouTube. I mean, and again, I'm not familiar with every single detail of what every person's, I could have did my homework a little bit better and gave you a little bit more of a show maybe. And there is, this case is an opportunity for us to shout about satanic ritual abuse. Okay. What happened in the UK is they got really freaked out and they didn't want this to hit the mainstream. So they threatened anybody who tried to speak out against this. So everybody in the UK who got threatened had to go underground and they had to protect themselves. I know people who were run out of London because they chose to stand up for these children. Okay. And I won't mention their names here, but they're online. You can find them.
Satanic ritual abuse, not real.
It takes all the powers of darkness that a woman